What is up, everybody? Welcome to Monday Night Throwdown on BostonSportsRadio.net. I'm Aashish Sharma with Brian Roach and Jake Banter. John Fernald couldn't join us today. He was actually hit by Daniel Nava's home run. He was standing out on Lansdowne, so he's going to take a week to recover. But for those of us who are here today, what's going on, guys?
Not much, man.
I'm doing good. Hey, guys, before we dive into any sports-related talk today, I actually want to start by extending my apologies to Brian Roach. I am sorry, sir, for dismissing your idea last week that Will Middlebrooks is capable of hitting 36 home runs in a season. I all of a sudden feel so much more optimistic about that. I see the light. I am on the Will Middlebrooks bandwagon after what happened in Toronto this weekend.
It's a good day. It happens it happens to good players.
He didn't hit one today, though.
No, he didn't, Jake. But he had a fantastic weekend over in Toronto, which is there you go. There's the list, the infamous list. He had a great weekend. I mean, he went 6 for 13, 4 home runs, 2 doubles, 5 RBI. Got off to a slow start at the beginning of the year in the Yankees series, but I think he really picked it up. You know, he was playing with 102-degree fever. But Brian, obviously, you know, I guess you were right. But Will Middlebrooks has looked solid in the last few games.
Oh yeah, his first home run on Sunday night, Sunday afternoon rather, was a great showcasing of his opposite field power, as Jerry Remy said. But because he got his hands out on the ball and was able to hit it on a line out of the ballpark, but he shows that he can hit it to all fields. He hasn't hit one to center yet, but that will he's usually a foul pole to foul pole home run hitter. But he almost had a fourth one too that day. It
right.
was like 6 feet shy of the wall. So I mean, if he can keep doing this, he could be in the MVP talks. But
Whoa, slow down now. Now you've lost me again, and I think Jake wants to jump in here. Jake, go ahead.
No. Let's go down on the list first of all. Middlebrooks. After 7 games MVP talks? Okay. Obviously, I'm happy with how Will Middlebrooks is playing. You know, obviously he couldn't have had a better start, which is great. You know, it's a player that the Red Sox need a lot out of this year. So if he's going to continue to contribute like this, the team's going to win a lot of games. So, you know, he's a big part of why they won the first, you know, why they've won 5 out of 7. But I also think, you know, another player that's been playing really well is Jose Iglesias. I mean, he's been a big part of that too. And I wish that he had a better shot at, you know, sticking around instead of being brought down for Stephen Drew.
You know, Jake, I'm glad you brought up Jose Iglesias because I did want to actually address this. Yes, he has been a lot more confident at the plate here in the early goings, but despite what's he hitting, like 450, 457, I'd have to look it up. But if you look at all the hits that he's had so far this year through 7 games, no, I mean, come on, man. They're all infield singles, seeing eye singles. He has like 1 double. The guy can't hit for power. He can't hit for power, and that's why he's going back to AAA.
6 extra base hits over the spring, in spring training. So the power will be there eventually.
The power's never
not like
Jose Iglesias, first of all, ever, period. I'll be happy if he hits 230 and plays Gold Glove shortstop. There's been, you know, I mean, I think he's been a big part of why they've won too. He puts pressure on hitters, you know, or not on hitters, but on pitchers because he's so fast off the line. Once he gets a hold, you know, once he hits the ball, he's, you know, he gets a lot of infield hits. He bunts. He kind of keeps things, you know, changes the order up with the Red Sox. So I think, you know, I wish
the thing is, he couldn't bunt last year, which is a big improvement of this year of why he's been able to do so good. He had that bunt single during the first week, and I mean, if he can lay those down on a consistent basis, then his average will be up maybe to 250 if he can just hit bunt singles all the time.
I know. I want a guy that can actually, you know, hit. You know, not necessarily for power all the time, but I want a proper contact hitter. I want him to get on base via, you know, I want him to walk more. I want him, 250, and I want him to actually drive the ball. You know what I'm saying? Like I know he's not a power hitter, Jake, but I don't want just these constant, you know, little infield dribblers that he keeps beating out because you can't sustain that. You can't keep bunting. You can't keep having swinging bunts or infield hits or just little CNI singles down the line or in the hole that you get on base on. I mean, these are major league pitchers. You're not going to be able to do that all the time.
He did it sometime during the spring. He showed that he could drive the ball some. He had what I think he had a home run during the spring.
Yeah, in his first at bat or second in the first game in spring. So.
And he hit it over the Green Monster. He hit it over the Green Monster in the other park. It's the same dimensions as Fenway.
Right? No. So, I mean, like actually it's slightly taller down there in JetBlue actually. But no, here's the thing. Yes, he worked out with Pedroia over the offseason. We know that he's gained about 10 pounds in muscle. I'm not questioning the fact that he does look bigger, he does look stronger, but can he hit major league pitching consistently? And so far, he's kind of gotten a little lucky in my eyes. You know, look, it's 7 games. To me, we need to be seeing a lot more, and we'll see what happens. But right now, it seems. I mean, what's he going down in the next couple of days? Stephen Drew is going to be activated at the end of this week, and he's going to take over the starting shortstop job. So it's a moot point.
Yeah, unless Stephen Drew struggles, out of the gate, like maybe his concussion symptoms act up.
Different players handle things differently like that. I mean, I think it's not. I don't understand why they brought him in with the depth they have organizationally at the shortstop position with Iglesias, with a Xander Bogart. I just don't understand why you bring a player in for 1 year.
I think it's because they didn't think Iglesias was ready this year. I mean, he is ready with the glove, but they want to see more, at least a little better average than whatever he hit last year.
And then maybe you bring in Xander Bogart and Iglesias and have them play off for the shortstop position in the next year, maybe.
Yeah. No, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, with Xander Bogaerts coming up either next year or maybe the year after, I really don't see Iglesias as a future. I don't think he has a future on this team.
Yeah.
Where does he fit in?
Bogarts might not even be a shortstop by the time it's done with, because I mean they want to keep him at shortstop for now. But if he can't handle the position full time, he'll move to left field, and that's a need for the Red Sox in the future. With Johnny Gomes moving, I mean Daniel Navas looked pretty solid, but they need someone like a Bryce Brents, someone who can play that position and stay healthy. Bryce Brents hasn't been able to do that, but they need someone like Bogarts who has pop to add to this lineup once David Ortiz retires and stuff like that.
Right. So. No, I mean, we'll see what happens. Like I said, Stephen Drew is coming back. I think Iglesias can go back to the minors slightly more confident now, and maybe later down the road, if there's an injury, he can make his return. But I do want to switch gears now, guys. I want to talk about someone else who made his return recently, John Lackey, pitching in his first major league game in since 2011, August 2011, September 2011, and he was pretty good. He was pretty awesome. I want to go straight to the injury though, because I know that's what we all want to talk about. Pitching to Jose Reyes, he walked off the mound and he clutched his right arm, guys. And I think that everyone in Red Sox Nation collectively just went, uh-oh, because we thought, crap. He's re-injured his arm. Luckily, guys, it's just a bicep strain. He seems like it's not going to be, they're still determining whether or not he's going to miss a lot of time on the DL, but it's not what we thought it was. It was not something dealing with his Tommy John surgery, thank God.
Yeah, basically, I don't know if it's a good thing, but it's good to see that he was able to be effective with all those strikeouts. His only blemish was that home run to Aaron Sebia. That was a complete bomb. But
Sebia was killing it.
Yeah. But what I see, fifth starter, John Farrell, I would like to see him call up one of the prospects like Alan Webster for a spot start, but he's probably going to go with Aceves. But I really don't like that because you saw what Aceves did in relief of John Lackey. He gave up that home run. So
Aceves has been garbage lately.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see Alan Webster come up too. I think he's old enough. He's personally anything to avoid a situation like Aaron Cook last year, where the Red Sox basically, made all these moves for a veteran really to step into the starting rotation instead of just bringing up a young guy, giving him a shot. And you never know. I mean, that's kind of like how Papelbon stepped into the role he got into because he was brought up for a couple spot starts, started pitching really well as a starter. Next thing you know, he's the closer, and now he's making $15 million a year as a closer. So maybe the Red Sox have somebody like that in their minor league system, which, maybe it is Alan Webster, and I think he's probably the guy. The other person they're talking about is Ruby De La Rosa. He's younger, so I'd like to maybe keep him down for a little bit longer. But I think Alan Webster's the guy that needs to come up and step up into the rotation.
De La Rosa is actually the only one with major league experience, but they also have Stephen Wright, who's the knuckleballer, who just started throwing the knuckleball recently. Came over in the Lars Anderson deal. He's looked pretty good. He's only pitched in minor league games, really, so it's tough to say how these people will do when they're in the major leagues. But Alan Webster has a nasty sinking fastball that can reach upwards of 98, 99 miles per hour. So.
Wow.
Right. So no, it'll certainly be interesting to see what course of action the Red Sox take should John Lackey end up on the DL and miss a couple starts. If they go to Chavez or if they do go to someone in AAA and promote someone from within.
So depending on the severity of the injury, I could see it in like a 2-week thing or maybe like a 6-week to a 2-month thing. So depending on what that is, if it's only 2 starts, I say maybe you do leave Webster down. And you start a Chavez, you give it a shot. Morales is coming back too, which I think he could be another option as well.
That would be a good option.
Yeah.
Right. No, I just think it's just disappointing, guys, when you look at a guy like John Lackey and see how hard he worked over the offseason. He came into the camp in shape with a new attitude, wanted to put everything behind him. I think a lot of fans, not that they all of a sudden love John Lackey now, but they're rooting for him to do better. They want him to kind of be that guy because people don't enjoy hating their own players. And now John Lackey's giving you a reason to kind of like him a little bit. I don't love, criticizing John Lackey for the way he's been horrible over the last 3 years. I was rooting for him to come back and be better. So for me, it was a little tough to watch him walk off the mound that day.
You're a nicer guy than I am, Aashish, because honestly, I personally don't root for John Lackey. I wish the Red Sox got rid of him. I think he was a huge part of the chicken and beer thing that, whatever. And I'm not saying I'm just saying that as not specifically beer and chicken, but the culture in the Red Sox organization during that. And he was just a huge part of it to kind of, stick his thumb into, working under some sort of structure and thought that he was bigger than working under a structure and bigger than the team and all that kind of mentality. And yeah, I think everybody – the biggest thing he's lost, looks like upwards of 30 pounds. So that's obviously showing some physical, some care about the way, he's performing. But you got to think about it this way, too, is Lackey this is his last shot. Really, if he ever wants to play after his contract with the Red Sox, he has to pitch well this year.
Right. Sure. No, that's a fair point, Jake. And I do want to address something that you said. You said that the culture has been was different back then. I think this year, looking at this team, automatically you can tell that there's sort of a different aura surrounding this team. It's a lot looser. It's a lot more. There's a lot more camaraderie. It reminds me of the early days from 04 to 07 where you had a lot of characters. Like Dempster and Gomes and all these fun guys. I remember in the Yankees series, John Dennis and Jerry Callahan on WEI earlier today were talking about the Will Middlebrooks flyout during the Yankees series. I don't know if you guys remember this, but he came back into the dugout and got high fives all around. When's the last time you saw something like that? A guy makes an out and comes back and gets high fives? That just shows that this is a very loose bunch. They're not uptight. They like to have fun. And when you're winning, it's easy to do that.
Yeah.
The thing that I noticed, as you said, high-fiving and everything, but in the Middlebrooks near fourth home run, when he came back in, he was holding back a smile, laughter, because the whole bench, when that ball was going out to the warning track, they were all holding each other back, trying not to rejoice, holding each other back trying to have fun with it. And when it didn't go out, they were all like, all right, and started like clapping because he would have been the first Red Sox player to hit 4 home runs. It's a rare feat that not many people can say they've done. Only a handful.
More Middlebrooks love, Brian. Jeez.
Middlebrooks is in there.
He's going to the Hall of Fame.
Wake and rake.
Wow.
Wake and rake. There you go. Hey, but guys, let's move on now. I want to talk about the other pitchers in the rotation. It's not just about John Lackey. John Lester and Clay Buchholz have been fantastic. They're combined 4-0 right now. John Lester has a 1.5 ERA. Clay Buchholz has an ERA of 0.67 or something. They have been absolutely phenomenal. What are your thoughts? What are your early impressions from both those guys right now, Brian?
Yeah, both of them have been able to outduel their opponents right now. I mean, Lester got a lot of help on Sunday with that five-run first inning against Dickey. And then his first start against the Yankees, he gave up a couple runs. But other than that, he's been really, really sharp. His cutters looked on, his curveball. Buchholz's changeup has looked nasty. And his fastball has reached 93, 94. And they both look spot on. They're not giving up too many walks. And the hits they've given up have not been that sharply hit. Like they have yet to give up a home run, so that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like we've said before, I mean, I feel like with Buchholz and Lester, and I put them in that order personally. I put Buchholz above Lester. I think he has nastier stuff. I think, but anyways, if both of them are pitching well, the Red Sox are going to be right there. I think them as a 1-2 can compete with anybody in the league. So if we can get, other contributors and you know who I think is going to have a great year too is Dubron. Dubron's got nasty stuff. When you watch the pitches that he has, I mean, if he can throw strikes, his big problem is staying in the strike zone. If he can throw strikes, he can, he's got as good a stuff as anybody on the team. And the bullpen's strong too, which also always helps the pitching rotation. When you have a strong bullpen, you can trust going to them, and you can get out of the 5th or 6th inning, and you can go to your bullpen and feel confident about that. You're going to get more wins. The pitching staff's going to, the starters are going to pitch well over the longer term, I think, as well.
Koji Uehara, he's faced 6 batters, thrown 14 pitches, retired all 6 batters he's faced. He can throw like 90, so he's not like the flamethrower, but I mean, he's pretty solid.
No, I love that acquisition with Koji Uehara. But to get back to Lester and Buchholz, yeah, you're right. I think that Buchholz is sort of looked at as the guy behind Lester, but I think you could put him right there. He's got great stuff, and I think you could make the argument that he's got nastier stuff than John Lester. I mean, that changeup is devastating to anybody. So,
yeah.
So I mean, with Clay Buchholz, I'm really excited about what we've seen so far from him this season. And the thing with Lester is, April has never been good to him. If you look at some of the past performances that he's had over the years, he's been absolutely horrible in April. And so far, he's gotten off to a great start here with a 2-0 and 1.5 ERA. I just want to say that it's truly unfortunate for me because on my fantasy team, I had both John Lester and Will Middlebrooks on Saturday, and I traded them both to this guy on Sunday before the game.
That's awful.
So I hope, Brian, that you're enjoying those acquisitions of both Will Middlebrooks and John Lester. It's unfortunate for me because they were both phenomenal yesterday. So, but guys, let's talk now about today's game. A fantastic game. That was a pitcher's duel. It was a great game. And then in the bottom of the 7th inning in a scoreless game, Daniel Nava comes up with 2 men on and absolutely launches a 3-run shot over the monster to give the Red Sox a 3-0 lead. Brian, you were actually at this game. What was the atmosphere like?
It was crowded. It was a full park. It was probably the last sellout, but we'll find that out on Wednesday because I'll be there Wednesday also. But so it should be. It was a great atmosphere. A lot of people were having fun. Everyone's liking the discounts and whatnot. So.
I mean, who wouldn't like a $5 beer personally? I think I'll probably be at a couple games just to drink $5 beers. I mean, but anyways, I think this team is just more likable. I don't know. There's something about them that is just less that prima donna kind of
entitled
superstar player, where you have a lot more people that have fought for what they've had to get, which in a lot of ways I think that's more likable than to have the guys that have always been at the top, and I think it fits the kind of culture here in Boston as well. I think people get along with that guy like, a Danny Woodhead type, much more blue collar instead of, an Adrian Gonzalez.
They couldn't be farther away from what they were last year and the year before that. I mean, even when they were winning in 2011, people say, winning cures everything, and that's true, but they still weren't that likable in 2011, even when they were the best team in the American League, because they still had guys like Josh Beckett and John Lackey, and, guys, there just didn't seem to be that chemistry with guys. And then last year, it was a total disaster. It was a total mess. You had, drama spewing out of the Red Sox clubhouse on a daily basis. You could just see that disconnect between manager and players. You remember when Alfredo Aceves got into it with Dustin Pedroia in the dugout? Bobby Valentine came over to say something, and Aceves was kind of like, yeah, move on, go on, get out of here. Could you imagine them doing the same thing with John Farrell?
They introduced every single coach, trainer, and all of them were basically new. They welcomed back a few new people, but they introduced all the trainers. There's like 3, 4, 5 of them. They introduced all the coaches, and they introduced all the medical staff. So they wanted to know all the fans to know that they were invested fully in this, and that's a huge step for this team.
I'm not sold yet.
Too early for you, Jake?
Too early. I'm rooting for them, and I'm gonna go drink $5 beers for sure. But there's still some pieces that I'd like to see moved. One of them is Larry Lucchino. I think he's just got to go. And he won't is the problem, because he's John Henry's right-hand man, and he does the dirty work for John Henry. But I do think this seems more likable, and I think it couldn't have started any better for them. So here we are, and it's much better than – it feels better being a Red Sox fan this year, a lot better than it does the last couple of years. Let's just put it that way.
There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that.
Because I agree with you about the team, not last year, but the year before, that when we went on that streak and we were the hottest team in base, they were the hottest team in baseball for like 5 months, had the best record, but they started really bad and they ended really bad. I hate, that team was awful, likable-wise. They were just, because that's the way they were. They could show, they could play really well, but they couldn't kind of keep the focus the whole season.
Yeah, no, I've always said this in the past, that if I'm a GM putting together a team, I would much rather put a bunch of B-grade players together who absolutely love each other and would go out there and battle for each other every day, than put together a team of superstars that hate each other. Because ultimately it comes down to chemistry. You look at the teams that go out and win world championships, it's the guys that truly love each other, even if the talent level is a little less. I mean, you go back to 2004, yeah, you had your Manny Ramirez and your David Ortiz, but you look at some of the guys in the bullpen, they were a bunch of no-names. Alan Embry, Mike Timlin, guys like that. And then, Johnny Damon was no superstar. Dave Roberts was no superstar. You go back and look at some of those guys, and that's how you get it done. You have to put it together with guys who truly care about each other.
That's absolutely right, and I think David Ortiz coming back is going to make a big difference with that, too. I think he's a big part of that. But maybe he isn't. Who knows? I mean, maybe he's part of the old, guard that maybe needs to go, but I think he's definitely going to help the lineup for sure. I think he's that power bat that's missing. And unless, Will Middlebrooks is the Hall of Famer that Brian thinks he is, I think that we need Ortiz. But as long as Middlebrooks is is the next Pete Rose, I think we're all set.
I thought Dustin Pedroia was the next Pete Rose.
Yeah. Okay. So what's he? What's
the next Devin Longoria? The next Devin Longoria. Even he's kind of young, but he's the next closest guy to him.
He needs to work on a few things. He needs to be more patient at the plate. He needs to not swing at every single pitch like he wants to hit it.
Comparing Devin Longoria to Will Middlebrooks. Yeah.
That was Aashish.
No, that was me.
Yeah,
that was me.
I know. Oh, of course.
But no, but just as we wrap up our Red Sox talk, I just want to say, when Ortiz comes back, you're looking at a pretty scary lineup now. Obviously, some of the questions in the offseason were, will this pitching staff get it done? Is this offense somewhat anemic? And no, I mean, like, you still got Jacoby Ellsbury, you've got Dustin Pedroia, Shane Victorino's off to a good start. Mike Napoli gives you some pop. David Ortiz will be back. Middlebrooks is there. You're talking about 6 guys out of 9 that are pretty legit. I mean, I'm pretty optimistic for when Poppy comes back, if he can be full-on healthy after the Achilles rehabbing. I think he'd be fine, right?
He's just playing us all. He's just making us all pay. That's really what
Hey, you know what? Hey, as long as beers are $5, Jake, you know, if they can extend that from April through the end of the year, I will watch this team all year long at Fenway. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. That's what a $5 beer sounds like. All right, guys. Hey, let's move on from Fenway to the TD Garden. Let's talk some hockey. Bruins played the Hurricanes tonight. They won 6-2. They absolutely crushed the Hurricanes. Brad Marchand scored 2 goals, and Tuukka had 40 saves. Pretty impressive. So what do you guys think so far about the Bruins? I know they've been struggling lately.
I think they need to save the goals. Like they need to spread that out a little. I mean, they could have used that against Montreal.
Yeah,
I don't know why they score 6. Like, why not score 4, save 2 for the next game? Try to get that number 2
exactly
seed.
how it works. I don't think that's exactly.
I wish it did work that way. I wish you could put some goals in your back pocket and save it for later, you know?
But yeah, I mean, I think that that Marchand played really well. I think Yager, you know, obviously the acquisition of Jaromir Yager changes the game for the Bruins. I think he's a big offensive force. He handles the puck. He's never been this super. That's always been his game, being a big guy that doesn't give the puck up easily and being creative with the puck as well. I think everybody really wants to see him get a chance to play with David Krejci, which will be really exciting because they both have that kind of quick pass, quick kind of, you know, tape-to-tape accuracy in passing. So it could be good to see them to play together. I think another, you know, obviously seeing Marchand put 2 goals away is obviously something that we're looking for him to do. And yeah, I mean, the game tonight was obviously a nice win, but I also don't see them playing as well as they should against the top teams in the East. The loss to Montreal was really tough, only being able to put 1 goal away. You know, having a 2-man advantage and not being able to get a shot off at the end of that Montreal game absolutely kind of ripped my heart out in a lot of ways, because that's the Bruins' problem a lot of times, is being able to have that offensive punch. So hopefully Yager, even at 41 years old, is somebody that can bring a little bit more offensive confidence and offensive creativity.
Right. No, Jake, you just mentioned the loss to the Habs. How much do you think Bergeron's absence is hurting this team right now?
Huge. Defensively, he's so important. You know, besides Chara, he's probably the 2nd most important player to the Bruins' defense. And he's a center, you know, so he's a huge part of what they're doing. He plays there, you know, he wins every face-off. He's, you know, probably the best face-off, you know, guy at the face-offs in the NHL. So he's a big loss. And I think Seguin too. I mean, him being knocked down, he plays well with Bergeron because Bergeron makes up for Seguin's kind of. Seguin can be a little bit more risky in the offensive end when he's got Bergeron who's forechecking for him, you know, and losing that, I think that's why Claude sent him down to the 3rd line.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. He's been struggling since Bergeron has been out. He doesn't have that person who can pass it to him.
Right.
Doesn't have that person who can win the face-offs, get it to him, make it so it's not just. I mean, sure, Claude Julien makes it a little difficult playing every single player the same amount of time. Look at the last power play that Milan Lucic could not shoot the puck. I was like, what is going on? Like, he had perfect opportunity to shoot the puck multiple times on that last power play, 6-on-4. You got to be able to shoot the puck at least once in the last minute.
I'm going to go and say it. Milan Lucic is the most overrated player in the Boston sports scene since probably Kevin Millar.
Whoa! Hey! Don't hate on Kevin. Come on, it's Millar. Without him, you don't draw the walk. Without him, Dave Roberts doesn't steal second. You really struck a chord there. really struck a chord there, Jake.
You should show them the Kevin Millar tattoo that you have on your back. Right?
Oh man, my tramp stamp. You're not gonna tell them about my Kevin Millar tramp stamp.
It's
Come
like
on.
his face, and it says Cowboy Up under it.
It says
right?
Cowboy Up, and number 15. Come on, Jake. I told you that in confidence, buddy.
But yeah, I just think like he doesn't score. He doesn't do it. I think he's just overrated. I think we fell in love with the big kind of and the Neely comparisons. Give me a friggin' break. If you're gonna compare Milan Lucic to Cam Neely, you are out of your friggin' mind. It's like Tommy Heinsohn comparing Steamsma to Bill Russell. It's just not in the same.
It's insulting. It's insulting.
It's insulting because Cam Neely was one of the best players to ever play in the NHL, and Lucic can't move his feet.
Right.
He can't. He's awful.
Well, they do have Chris Kelly back. He missed 13 games after he broke his left tibia.
Yep.
So hopefully he can provide a little bit of a spark.
He's had a down year though this year.
He's better on the defensive end. I like Chris Kelly more of a defender than like offensive threat. But he could provide some assists. I could see him in that front, maybe a couple goals in the playoffs. But the real test I think for the playoffs is just the goalies in general, seeing how Tuukka Rask and Hudobin deal with the playoff pressure. Tim Thomas thrived under it that 1 year, and we'll see how Tuukka can handle it as the main goalie. Hudobin probably won't get as much playing time in the playoffs because I think that's what they're doing. That's why they're playing Hudobin so much these last couple of weeks. So Tuukka Rask is more rested and ready to go.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. I think that Tuukka's still the number one guy. I don't think there's a question about that. Hudobin is playing great. So if Tuukka maybe has a bad game in the playoffs, maybe you do stick Hudobin in one of those, in one of a game, not a deciding game necessarily, but a game, maybe it's 2-2 and you stick Hudobin in there, to give Tuukka a breather and kind of get his stuff together. But to me, I still think that offensively the Bruins, I think Tim Thomas was a huge reason why. Tim Thomas was standing on his head like almost no goalie had ever stood on his head. And that's really what it takes to win the cup, is to have a hot goalie and have a couple of breaks go your way. And that's what happened with the Bruins.
Yeah, there's no way. In my opinion, I don't think the Bruins win in 2011 without Tim Thomas. There's no way.
Hits a couple of like pucks out of the air. I
think their power play was so much worse back then too.
That's the hockey talk, guys. Let's move on to some basketball now. We're about 5 games away from the playoffs with the Celtics, so we're getting there, and we're hoping now that they can actually get past the first round with the way they've been playing so erratically. They did get Paul Pierce back. They did get Kevin Garnett back. They're going to face either the Knicks or the Pacers in the first round, it looks like. So my question to you guys is, who would you rather face in the first round, Indiana or New York?
New York. I just think that Paul Pierce, Carmelo Anthony, Jeff Green matchup, because I think that Paul Pierce and Jeff Green would be able to defend Carmelo. Sure, he's been on a tear of late, but with 4 straight games of 35 or more points. But the Knicks have won 12 straight. I don't think they can stay that hot. I believe that Jeff Green, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett are a 3-headed monster that are ready to get into the playoffs.
Wow.
And are ready to go. Bradley defending is a great defender. Jeff Green has been scoring out of his mind lately. He's shooting over 50% in his last 8 to 10 games. So what I think is that I know Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett are going to be rested over the next, maybe the last 2 or 3 games. They'll be rested. We're raring to go. Try to get that next title.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves with the title yet, but I still think, I don't know why, the Knicks are playing so well. I don't think the Knicks are a great matchup for the Celtics right now, but I think that's the team that they're going to end up playing. I don't think Pierce can guard Melo, but I do think Jeff Green can guard Melo. It would be an interesting matchup because Green is so long and is physically built like a LeBron or a Carmelo. I think Carmelo could still body him down low. That's what makes Carmelo so special on the wing, is that he has the ability to shoot on the wing and then drive and body you to get to the basket. He's really – I heard somebody earlier today say that, he could be one of the best players off the wing ever. Because of his size and his shooting ability, he's really hard to guard. And I think that the Pacers aren't really playing that well as the Knicks are, but a lot of teams put the brakes on right now. I mean, obviously the Celtics have with sitting out, Garnett and Pierce for a couple of games. A lot of teams put the brakes on right now. Get some rest before you go into the second half, the real season, which is the playoffs.
Yeah, no, you know what, Jake, everything you said makes sense, but I'm going to have to side with Brian on this one. That I would I'm going to have to side with Brian on this one and say that I would rather face the New York Knicks in the first round. As everything Brian said, yes, they're absolutely on a tear right now, and Carmelo is playing out of his mind right now. The question is, will that carry into the playoffs? Because it is a different animal, the postseason. Yeah. And if you look at the standings right now, if the season ends today, the Celtics do end up playing the Knicks. And the reason I would rather take New York in the first round is I just think Indiana's too young, too athletic. I think they can outlast the Celtics in the 6 or 7 game series if it goes that far. They're a team that can kill you in transition, both offensively and defensively. I just don't think that the Celtics will be able to keep up. Not that the Knicks are all that much, in terms of age. They are younger than the Celtics, but they do kind of play more of a half-court style game. And I think for the Celtics, that just works. And let's talk about Carmelo Anthony for a second, all right? His postseason record is not something to brag about. I think, obviously, yes, he has been absolutely phenomenal here in these last few games, but once the postseason comes along, he turns into Tony Romo. Okay, they've got that same sort of thing going. Well, once the postseason comes along, they just turn into something else. And I think Boston ultimately, they will have to go through Miami. They will have to ultimately get through Indiana and to get to that elusive banner 18. But I would rather it start through New York.
Yeah, I mean, I think that here's what's funny about MSG, I think, is that MSG plays more like a neutral court. Like, remember all those years in the 90s where Jordan would absolutely go crazy in MSG? I just don't feel like it's a home court advantage like Indiana has. Conseco Fieldhouse is a tough place to play, and I don't think that it's a place I don't think the Celtics really have a great shot against either of those teams, honestly. And I hate to say it, but I just think that Pierce and Garnett are really – they're asking a lot out of both of them. The run that we made last year, a huge part of that was Rondo. And I think you're starting to see the effects of losing Rajon Rondo as Avery Bradley isn't as healthy. He can't perform on the offensive side of the ball as much as Rondo does, and I think that that's really starting to kind of come into play. We need Brandon Bass to actually show up, I think, for once and actually get a couple of rebounds for a couple of times, which...
Well, he had a nice performance on against the Wizards.
Oh, God. How many?
All right, well, I just think that Jason Terry is going to come up huge in the first round of the playoffs. Yes. That's what I think. I mean, it's going to be the Jet show, like in the final minutes. He's made to hit those shots. He's going to be like the Ray Allen type for this team. Yeah. That comes out shooting. That's what they make plays for him, and he wasn't hitting them earlier in the season. He's been hitting them lately. Yeah. So I mean, it's gonna be. I mean, Jeff Green can take over a game. We've seen what he can do. We saw what he did against the Heat. That one game.
I love Jeff Green. I don't like his consistency. That's my only issue with him.
Right.
There's games where he looks like he's an all-star, and then there's games he looks like he's the 8th man on the bench.
Right. No, I think that's one thing that we can gripe about is that he needs to seek that consistency if he's going to be truly considered as the next great thing for the Boston Celtics. But getting back to your point about Jason Terry, Brian, I know I've been kind of down on him lately over the last couple of shows, saying that he hasn't really come as advertised. But I don't hate Jason Terry.
Well,
I love the Jet. I'm just saying that yes, and Jake, to quote you from last week, he doesn't suck. He's old. Yes, you're right. He is old.
He's
37.
old.
He is old. But if he is going to, have any sort of redemption for sort of what was a mediocre year, he has to come in and be a force off the bench in the playoffs.
Let's put it this way. The Celtics didn't sign Jason Terry for the regular season, period.
I really hope that's the case. I really hope so. I hope he can come in and be that Ray Allen. Hey, 2009 first round against the Bulls, Ray Allen absolutely goes off in OT. I really hope that's what Jason Terry does. Something along those lines.
I know Fern's new favorite player on the Celtics is actually Shadlick Randolph.
Oh,
it actually reminds him a lot of his game, how he plays.
Shadlick Randolph.
Wow, it's just garbage. Absolute garbage.
What?
Garbage.
What? Whoa!
It's not like garbage.
You don't like Slavic Randolph?
Terrible. Awful.
He averaged 20 points in China.
Brian, I think we need to tag team this one against Jake here.
Go ahead. Shadlick Randolph's awful and shouldn't be on an NBA roster.
I think he's been okay. Look, he's not a superstar by any means. He's not a star by any means. He's a guy. He's your seventh guy off the bench. But I think he has really done well in his role. I mean, you look at what Greg Steamsma was for the Celtics last year. That's what Slavic Randolph has been this year.
Wow.
Oh, whoa, he's better than Steamsma.
I don't
The
know.
steamer.
He can get the offensive rebounds. Like Steamsma could not get offensive rebounds, and he couldn't shoot that well.
He played well against Detroit and against Washington. Like, let's just relax here. Hopefully, he can be a big off the bench that can get to a couple fouls on LeBron.
Look, every year,
center is really good.
Every year,
Monroe guy, he's actually really good.
You always have an X factor. Every run in the playoffs, you have sort of an X factor you're not expecting anything out of. In 2008, P.J. Brown. I mean, he was the Dave Roberts of the Celtics. Maybe Slavic.
Love that comparison.
Who can defend him on the Heat? Think about that. Yeah. Who can defend Slavic Randolph on the Heat?
It's not going to be Bosch for sure.
Not many people.
He'll knock Bosch around.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, him and Jordan Crawford are just on my hate list.
Oh my.
Well, okay. All right. Well, they're on your hate list. But before we move on to football, then, guys, I just want to get your
Crawford
prediction.
Can hit the three.
Before we move on to the football side of this show, I just want to. Do you think that they get past the first round if they face either, let's say, Indiana or New York? Does Boston advance to the second round?
Possibly.
I think. Okay, I'll get mine out there. I think they'll play the Knicks, and I think they'll beat the Knicks in 7.
4.
Against?
Knicks. Sweep them.
Wow. Okay. Yep. And sorry, Brian, what did you say?
Win 2. Maybe 5. You know what? Let's say 5. But they win the first 2 in New York.
That's great.
They blow them out in the first game. They blow them out by 20.
Wow.
Okay.
I can see that.
Let's go.
Okay, and Brian, what about you?
I say Celtics in 6.
Celtics in 6. Okay, so we've got Celtics.
Downers, huh?
We got Celtics in 7, Celtics in 6, and Celtics in 5. Okay. Hey, wait. Where's the list? Celtics in 5. Jake.
Okay. No, let me write it down. Everybody's prediction.
Blowout in first game.
In the first game. All right.
Plus.
That is officially on the list. Now, while Jake is writing that down, Brian, let's move on to some Patriots talk. Some word got out today that Rob Gronkowski is in fact going to have another surgical procedure on his broken forearm. I actually read this. I didn't find. It's unfortunate.
Number 4. Number 4.
Is it number 4 on his arm right now? I thought it was number 3.
Yeah. No, it's number 4.
Wow. I mean, it just seems to get worse and worse, and this guy can't seem to catch a break. Whoops. No pun intended there. But when you look at what he's done now, I love Rob Gronkowski, guys. You guys know that. I love Gronk, but I think the guy just needs to settle down. You look at the offseason. Yeah, I do. I really love him. And I know you do too.
He does need to settle down.
He needs to settle down, right? You see the offseason he's had. I'm not surprised. I mean, take care of that arm, man. Come on.
Yeah, I don't see what the Patriots doctors are thinking. Just lock him in a room. Be like, all right, sit still for 5 weeks at least. Don't do anything. Don't break dance on your arm. Don't
play LMFAO and go like this with your shirt off.
Don't spend $10,000 on booze.
He's a young.
$10,000 on booze.
That's
$10,000.
You gotta live your life.
Jake, the most most I've ever
$10,000.
spent. The most I've ever spent on booze in one night is $300, and I guess I'm not a multi-millionaire. So.
Yeah, I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, I don't think that's a good news for I don't think it's good news for anybody. But there's enough time in the off season. I think any arm surgery he's going to have, he'll be able to recover, and should be back for the regular season. Let's hope.
So okay, let me
it's just an infection.
Yeah, let me paint a picture for you guys. Let's say Rob Gronkowski is out for the first few weeks of the season. Who fills in? I mean, this team is already thin offensively. Is it going to be Jake Ballard?
Yes, that is who it's going to be. Let's hope. I mean, 1 year out of football though is not one year.
It's going to be Demps.
Demps is actually, Brian. Demps has decided to become the track athlete again, so he's probably going to get cut. It looks like. Have you heard about that?
Man,
he wanted to go. He's going back to the running team or the U.S. Olympic running 200 meters or something. So
I was expecting big things in the special teams from him.
Me too. He's so fast and he was great at Florida, but I can't see Belichick letting him go and
that easily
and then come back. But why would he let him do that? You know?
Right. No, obviously. Yeah. I mean, like we've talked about this over the last show. We talked about how this offense just continues to get thinner and thinner within and with guys leaving. Julian Edelman's still not under contract. Brandon Lloyd still, we don't know what's happening there. We thought they were going to release him and bring him back. So let's look at the draft now, guys. That's coming up. Do you think, and this is my opinion, but let me see if you guys agree. I think wide receiver in the first round. They need to get a wide receiver.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. I don't know exactly who's out there. I'm not a big
Tavon Austin. Tavon Austin,
maybe. I heard he's pretty good. Yeah, but
yeah.
I mean
he's the type of player that's rising up the draft board in a way, and I don't see the Patriots reaching for anybody. Another need potentially.
I think they have Jake. I think they have the 29th pick, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think he's going to last that long.
Right. I could also see a D-back, which is kind of scary when you think about it, because of all the players that we've drafted that haven't panned out.
Terrence Wheatley, Jonathan Wilhite, Ellis Hobbs. I mean, Patrick Chung. The list goes on and on and on. Jake, I'm not feeling the DB.
He drafted Asante though.
He did draft Asante. I mean, but the thing is, it's a game of percentages. I mean, how many of these guys really?
But he let him go.
He did.
Let him go.
You know, Jake, if they're gonna go out and get another DB, I would rather it be through free agency. I just don't like the way things. I mean, you look at Razai Dowling. He took what with the first or second pick a couple years ago. What has he turned? I just don't like Bill Belichick. I just don't like him drafting defensive backs. I mean, if he's been great with the front seven. He got Gerard Mayo and Brandon Spikes and Chandler Jones and guys like that, and Dante Hightower. He's great at the front seven, but he just can't draft DBs.
Yeah, no, I don't think he can bring defensive backs in the free agency or, corners at least. I mean, Bowden, who was the other guy? Sean Springs, garbage. We haven't really had a lot of success in the with D-backs in a while.
Although I will say I like the way it's looking right now. When you look at, you've got McCourty playing safety back there with Adrian Wilson. You've got Alfonso Dennard hopefully coming back. We still don't know what's happening there. Talib is back if he could stay on the field. You look at the secondary; it looks a lot better than it did at the beginning of last year.
Yeah, but that doesn't help if you can't put as many points on the board as you did last year.
That's kind of the style the Patriots play, though. I mean, they're gonna give up yards. They play a two deep. They play basically their corners play 10 yards off the guy. And it's. But there's something about defense too. It's about big plays, and I think obviously you're looking for a playmaker, and they've been able to draft some pretty decent playmakers in Chandler Jones, and hopefully Hightower has a better year than he had this year. Although he played okay, he was injured a lot. I think another big year for Mayo, who's we've kind of figured out with Mayo what he is. He's not going to make these huge plays, but he's solid in the run game. And he leads the team in tackles every year, which is something, but he's not going to make a pick for a touchdown. He's not going to make a fumble.
He's not a Teddy Bruschi type.
He's not a Teddy Bruschi type. I don't think that's a fair comparison. But I think, and what drives you crazy about that is talent-wise, I mean, he's bigger, stronger, faster, but he just isn't Teddy Bruschi. Yeah.
Someone loves Gerard Mayo. I think you know what we're doing. We're just pouring it all out and just saying, who we admire. It's okay, guys. It's all right to have guys that. Hey, yeah, I mean, like, we've got CC Sabathia, Teddy Bruschi, Gerard Mayo guy over here, and then we've got, hey, it's okay. Teddy Bruschi's one of my favorite Patriots of all time. He may be my single favorite. You know what? Keep doing it, because I love Teddy Bruschi. Teddy Bruschi, if you ever want to come hang out, grab a beer with me at Jerry Remy's down on Boylston, give me a call, man. I love you.
Too.
Heidi Bruschi. Oh, yeah.
Doing well. Smart guy.
Oh yeah. So let's. So while we're talking about defensive forces, the Patriots just signed a defensive tackle, I believe, former Raider Tommy Kelly to a 2-year deal. Obviously, I like that signing. They're just getting more depth defensively.
Oh yeah, he had he has a career sacks of like 34.5, something like that. So I mean, it will only help the defense. So yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
It's good. It's always good to have depth in the defensive line, especially the big guys in front. It's nice to stick somebody next to Wilfork, also push Kyle Love. Hopefully he can come back and have another decent year as well.
Mm-hmm.
And let's hope that Chandler Jones can improve from his first rookie year, where he played great in the first half but kind of fell off in the second.
Yeah, no, I think, Jake, a lot of what happened with Jones in the second half was just due to that injury. He kind of fell off. Yeah. But if he can stay healthy, I mean, in the AFC Championship game, he played one snap, I think, of goal line defense, and that was it.
Right.
And I don't want to make excuses for the Patriots, but I think if Jones was healthy, they defensively would have had a better chance at winning that game, because Chandler Jones was such an impact player early in the year in terms of getting after the quarterback. Yeah. I mean, there was really no left tackle that could contain him.
Yeah, I agree. He was, and not only was he putting pressure on the quarterback, but he was forcing turnovers as well, which is that playmaker that I'm talking about, that changing the pace of a game by making a big play in football. So it's huge, especially on defense, when you're looking to make those kind of plays. And offense as well, but I think defense the playmakers on defense are harder to find.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt about that. I mean, you look at some of the guys that have been changing uniforms this offseason, it's tough to go out there and find guys that are still in their prime. I mean, you look at some of the guys that we've been talking about in terms of football for the last 10, 15 years who have been absolute playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. They're aging. Dwight Freeney's, the John Abrahams, they're old. Even Elvis Dumerville is getting up there in age. I mean, he's 31, 32. How many years does he have left? So
I think Freeney signs with the Patriots. I'm going to go out and say it.
Wow.
Yep, I think he's going to sign.
You want to put it on the list?
I think Abraham signs with the Patriots, actually.
Abraham, huh?
You know what? I don't think either of those guys signed with the Patriots, to be honest with you. I mean, like, I think it was a good job by Belichick to just kick the tires and do the due diligence on those two guys, but I just think, they really don't have much left. I think, how many snaps can they give you on defense at this point? They're getting up there in age. 15. They're injury prone.
15 snaps.
It's 15 snaps a game.
Enough. They'll give enough.
If anything, I'd bring them on for their leadership. But I just physically, I don't think that Dwight Freeney, he used to have that little twirl move that he used to do. I don't know if he can do that as effectively anymore. So, obviously the Patriots have a lot of work to do still to improve the offense and the defense, but we will see how that pans out. But you know what, guys? We'll see what happens, and that's pretty much all the time we have on this edition of Monday Night Throwdown on BostonSportsRadio.net. Again, apologies that we were a man short today, but he's busy recovering in the hospital from a fly ball to the face, or rather a home run to the face. He just happened to be standing on Lansdowne. I don't know what to tell you guys. So, Fern, wishing you a speedy recovery, buddy. For everyone here, I'm Aashish Sharma, Brian Roach, Jake Banter. We'll catch y'all next week. Thanks a lot.